Hello, and we are back again, and this time we are going to be looking at what went pretty well in class, but again it's worth covering, which is what happens when you find a data file that's not a TXT file. You don't necessarily have some sort of a setup syntax file. It's a data file that's been saved in a different statistical software program's format. And so if we recall from yesterday, the data file that we were using that we experienced that with was the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance Survey, the BRFSS, which is on our Blackboard page. And so again, to demonstrate this, what we will do from Blackboard is go ahead and download this information. We see here this is downloading, and we have about 1 second left. It's counting upwards, which is the opposite direction of how we would like for it to go. While we're waiting for this to finish downloading, though, we can go over here and make sure that we get where we want to be for this example to take place and try to minimize issues with folder organization. So here, we're back under our SPSS example problem. Trying to zoom in here for a second to see that we are able to see that. Again, this is our C drive here. And so zooming back out, our data file has finished downloading, so we can go to the download folder there, and we see it stored here. And so I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to pull it over in our SPSS example folder. And then I'm going to, again, we've got a zip file, so again I'm going to extract this file. I'm going to unzip it using WinZip. What we want to do is we're going to WinZip it into its own folder, and so we are selecting that as an option. And so now we have our new folder, this BRFSS 2015 select variables, which was created based upon the extract feature. And again, following these steps exactly is incredibly important to make sure that you are developing the same type of folder structure as the folder structure that I am generating here, mainly because if you are not generating the same folder structure, you will find that you will need to update your pathways with a bit more information than what I'm doing, or potentially a bit less information than what I'm doing. I'm trying to, again, streamline this and make this as standardized as possible, but if you are altering your folder structure, you're going to need to make sure you're altering your pathways when you get into the analysis itself. So we're going to click into this BRFS, not the analysis, I'm sorry, into the data file creation itself. So we're going to go ahead and enter into this BRFSS folder, and when we do so, we'll see that we have this file BRFSS 2015 select variables. Now, you may be seeing something different if you were working on a computer, say on campus. You might actually see a symbol here as opposed to just a white sheet of paper. The reason why this is a white sheet of paper for me is that this is in a SAS export file. That's an XPT file. And while that's a very handy file for many people, my computer that I'm currently working on does not have SPSS, and so, I'm sorry, does not have SAS. And so because of that, this file is not, it's not recognizing this file by default, and so it's just coming up as a blank file. This is not a problem, though, because we are not necessarily interested in trying to open this in SAS, but rather to use SPSS to open it. And so we can go over into SPSS in order to open this, and again, the way of doing this was very straightforward in SPSS. In order to open up a file that is in a different format from a different statistical software program, you would want to go to File, Open Data. Again, let me close that out for just a second so we can do that again. File, Open Data. And then we need to find where our data file is being saved, and so again, that's why this folder organization is important in order to navigate easily enough. So I'm going back to my SPSS examples. I see my BRFSS folder. I click in there, and again, we don't see anything here, and the reason we don't see anything here is because SPSS is only looking for a .sav and a .zsav file. So I need to tell SPSS to look for more, and in particular, I want it to look for a SAS XPT file. And so I'm going to click here, and what you'll see when I do that is that SPSS is now recognizing that file that is in that folder. And so I'm going to click on it, and I can go ahead and double click on it to get SPSS to open it. And you'll see SPSS is running this get SAS command. This is where SPSS is going ahead and converting from SAS into SPSS, and you'll see it's counting up all of the cases. It's still working, but we're also not receiving any errors or warning messages, which is always reassuring. And so we will let SPSS continue to work, and ta-da, like that. Again, we see that this command IBM SPSS Statistics Processor is ready. This means that whatever command we just gave it has finished, and we saw the pop-up here. And so this pop-up is the BRFSS having, I'm sorry, I reversed that. It is the BRFSS data that we have pulled in from the SAS format that we originally saw it to the new SPSS format that we are currently seeing it in. And so I'm just simply scrolling through here so we can take a look at the data that is available there and all the different variables that are present. Again, these variables have some meaning to me, mainly because I looked at this data set before. But if you're interested in trying to learn more about it, you can click over into Variable View. And from Variable View, you can look into the label. And again, it's not that these are necessarily obviously provided, but they nevertheless can provide additional insight in terms of what our data sets might be looking at. Note that we have here a situation in which value labels were not pulled across, and so that could be something where we're going to need to go back and try to pull that in manually. And again, sometimes when you have this conversion between data formats, you end up getting certain things dropped, and so you want to be careful to see that you are pulling in data appropriately, and that sometimes you're going to need to go back through and do some extra work on your own. And so we can see here that we've pulled the data file in, and so now we want to make sure that we are saving this data file as an SPSS data file, and to do that we want to go to File, Save As. Again, that's File, Save As, and I click on that, and you'll see that it's already telling me where it's going to put this file, and I'm just going to go ahead and give it a name. I'm going to call it the BRFSS 2015. That was the year the data were collected, and I'm going to go ahead and just call it Select Variables, and then finish with my favorite term, the master, just to let me know that this is my main file. The reason I have the word Select Variables in there is that this is not a complete data set, but rather this is just a selection of variables that are available. The data set was too large to use with all of the variables contained. So now that I've given it its name, I'm going to click Save, and you'll see that SPSS very quickly in the lower right-hand corner ran that save function, and I can go back to my folder where I am storing these things, my BRFSS folder, and I'll see that I now have my new SPSS data file there. And so we have successfully been able to create this new folder with the XPT file in it, as well as open this file in SPSS and use that newly opened file in order to create a SPSS data file itself, an SAV file.